Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yo, what up, what up? It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the UpNUp Podcast. I'm your host, Rubino.
And I'm DJ man.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
tell me
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
Tell me why you're good, bro.
I'm just good, bro. We got another episode, I'm excited.
We blessed. We blessed.
Get the homie in here.
Yes,
You
we
know,
got the
so-
homie. We're not going to introduce him yet.
Yeah, that's
We're
why
not introducing him
that's
yet.
why I said the homie.
They don't know who he is yet,
Yeah.
but they gonna know after
I'm gonna
this.
let you do that.
For those of you first-time listeners, hence the name UpNUp, this is a platform created to cultivate the culture. We do that through storytelling. We tell amazing stories. We bring people up here who got, experience and some who are trying to get experience, right, in their respective fields, and they're going after and they're grinding and they're staying on the up and up, man. We just trying to inspire out here, We're trying to inspire everybody, man.
Always.
Motivate you, man.
Always.
Motivate. Hustle and motivate.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nipsey. Now, getting that out the way, I do want to also shout out all the consistent listeners, the supporters, the viewers, the champions, those who have just been helping us and pushing the movement forward. We really appreciate you guys, man. We love you guys. And, we do this for y'all, and we do this for the culture, and we do this for us, right?
Yep.
So this is for you guys. So make sure you rate, subscribe, and review. You can catch all our episodes
And
on
like it too.
and like it too. You can catch all our episodes on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Just type in the UpNUp Podcast, and that's where you can find it. Now, getting that out the way, again, I guess you kind of already hinted we do got a special guest in the building today. At this point, it's just normal. We bring dope guests up here, right? Always, right?
Always.
Today's guest, I would say, is a man who's the perfect example of what it means to take full control of your path with no regrets, right? No regrets. A true visionary who's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up. Again, obviously, otherwise he wouldn't be in here, right? Just to name off a couple things this man has been able to accomplish, along with some of his team members. He's an award-winning real estate broker and investment extraordinaire. That's how I would explain it. Winner of 425 Magazine's 30 Under 30 Award. Was also featured in the Puget Sound Journal for numerous business moves him and his business partners have made. This is something that I actually rock with as well. He's someone who has a heart and passion for helping paying it forward, right? For us. And when I say us, I mean the underrepresented communities out here. He's really passionate about that. And he's the co-founder of Vozhi. Is it Vozhi? Vozhi Real Estate and Investment Group. Our guest is none other than the ultimate hustler and dream chaser. Shout out McMill. Dream chaser himself, Ariv. Adiaman. How you doing, bro?
Hey.
Round of applause for my brother.
I'm doing fantastic.
Round of applause.
Thank you for having me. I need to save what you said for any introduction I got coming up.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get my dreams and nightmares intro game up. You know what I'm saying? It's not on that level yet, but I'm trying to get there. Thanks for coming, though, bro.
I appreciate it, man. Thank y'all for having me.
You feeling good?
I'm feeling fantastic.
Yes.
up,
I like
man.
that. I like the energy in here right now.
I like the energy right now.
Energy's good right now, man. So if you're familiar with the show, we usually start our episodes off with the quote of the day.
Okay.
This is just something to get the mind right, get our vibe right. And, my guy across the way here, he's a wordsmith. You know what I mean? What you got? Inspire me right now. I want to be inspired.
All right, man. So
hear
the
it.
quote of the day.
The people need it.
Quote of the day today. I'm gonna read it like I always do. But living with fear stops us from taking risks. And if you don't go out on the branch, you're never gonna get the best fruit. Yeah.
And who said that?
Sarah Parrish.
Sarah Parrish.
Yeah.
Can you read that one more time? I gotta feel that.
Yeah.
I got to feel it too.
I'm always gonna ask you to read it again. Come on, Morgan Freeman, that shit. Come on, man.
Living with fear stops us from taking risks. And if you don't go out on the branch, you're never going to get the best fruit.
And so we bring in these quotes, obviously, because they're dope ass quotes, by the way.
Good looking.
That was a good one. I like that one. But it also ties into your story, right? And
Absolutely.
our guest story. And going on that branch, right?
Yeah.
And going after what's yours with no regrets, as I mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
I feel like that kind of embodies what you're about and everybody you work with as well. But before we kind of get into everything you're currently doing with Vozhi and and all the other business moves and power moves you've been making. We love to give a transparent look, an inside look on who it is these people are supporting, right? You probably have a pretty good following and people that actually rock with you and push you, but do they really know the story? And we want to take it kind of back a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing and kind of where you grew up and how that helped you, become who you are now.
All right. So my name is Ariv Adiaman. Full name is actually Ariv Adiaman. In English, that re sound doesn't exist, so hence the ZHI.
Okay.
So just people I've been called Vozhi or Ariv my whole life.
Okay.
Born in Tamil Nadu, India, which is like the most southern part of India, like literally at the tip.
The south.
The
Damn.
literal like tip of India.
Wow.
Yeah.
Born there, lived in a city called Chennai until I was about 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And my, typical immigrant story, my dad, came to the United States first, 2 years before he moved the rest of the family out here, built up a little bit, saved a little bit, brought the family out here.
Yeah.
I was about 8 years old when I first moved to Seattle, Washington. And we actually originally lived in Kirkland, Washington before it was, Bougie Kirkland, as we all know it now. You feel me?
Anybody from Kirkland, you know what that means.
Yeah.
Stop being bougie.
Exactly. But yeah, no, just typical, immigrant life. Like we came out here, lived in an apartment building until I was about 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, worked really hard, worked, multiple jobs,
Mm-hmm.
really, really just set the foundation for my brother and I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just, taking it forward, for me, success and making it so that my parents' sacrifices was worth it has always been in my heart and has always been the primary motivation for any decision that I've made in my life. And when I was younger, my main goal was, all right, I gotta get good grades, I gotta go to college, get a good degree, get that good job, and make my parents proud. Because when you're out here, you're a person of color, that's what they say, that's what they tell us. You go to college, you get that yada. And I did that. I did really well in high school, got good grades, got into the University of Washington, graduated 2012 with an electrical engineering degree.
Okay.
And
so you're just like the perfect first generation immigrant
right.
Success path right there.
Definitely made my parents proud.
That's what every parent comes with a pamphlet when they come to America. They're like, all right, so this is what your kids need to be.
Yeah.
Now go.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can all relate. You know what I mean? Our parents didn't really know how to take the SATs or how to sign up for the SATs, what you need to do before you get to college and all these things. And these are all things that I had to kind of especially being the firstborn son of an immigrant family. These are you put the family on your back.
Yeah.
So that's always been kind of my motivation. And getting a degree in electrical engineering, I always had kind of a passion towards business, but I didn't really understand how to apply it.
Okay.
I knew that's kind of in the back of my mind. I always knew I wanted to go towards that direction, but didn't really understand how to proceed. But so pretty much after college, I worked for a company called SAP.
Okay.
And doing some business analyst and eventually solution creator type stuff.
Okay.
And I was living in back and forth between Miami and Dallas.
Okay.
Just going back and forth. And during that time, I got to kind of understand how different companies operate because I was consulting with them.
Yeah.
And decided I miss home, moved back to Seattle, worked at Microsoft for about 3 years.
Okay.
And did I was doing program management with them at the SQL Server side and then later the Xbox side. Where pretty much I was just, I was doing program management, meaning I was pushing out software and making sure that, various stakeholders within the company are, the information flows through them properly and channeled through them properly before, it gets put out for the general public to consume the software.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was doing that for a little bit. And during this time period, I was kind of feeling I gotta, this is good, but this isn't what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that idea started kicking into my brain at that point. And so I figured, I'm gonna quit Microsoft and try to start a business or whatever.
So that was the thought that came in your head.
Yeah.
While you're going through that. I mean, well, let's take it back a little bit. So because you touched on a lot in terms of kind of the upbringing, right? Being first generation, right? Being coming from a immigrant family. Now, at what point were you all right, man? Am I ready to throw this away? Right, because growing up, and I'm sure a lot of people in here can attest to that. It's you don't really see any other options aside of just going the school route, getting a good job, and being secure in that. Right, the entrepreneurship route isn't forced on us. It isn't pushed on us. It isn't really taught to us. So
if anything, it's a huge risk. It's don't do that. Don't quit your secure job. All that. Yeah. So to keep it real with you, I tried it twice. So before I actually started Microsoft, but like, you know, between SAP and Microsoft, I actually came back to Seattle. And like when I quit SAP and moved to Seattle, I was like, you know what, like I don't want to go back to the corporate world. I want to really, you know, try starting a business. And actually the first business idea I had was kind of like an incubation type thing.
Okay.
So I noticed, like, you know, like there's a lot of kids like back home where I'm from, from the state of Tamil Nadu in India, where like there's like 600 something engineering colleges, and it's producing, you know, all like thousands and thousands of engineers on a yearly basis. And I figured, you know, all these engineers are working for, you know, like Western companies like Microsoft, like, you know, like just whatever companies that set infrastructure up in you know, southern India, and they're working over there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, where's the innovative ideas that are coming out from like my home?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of the main things one of the internships I had, you know, when I was in college was actually at Vulcan, you know, like rest in peace to Paul Allen.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I figured, you know, I had some connections that are within the startup world, and I figured, you know, like all I have to do is really create some sort of platform where these kids can submit their business ideas, and then I'll funnel it to these investors.
Okay.
And you know, if there's a good idea, you know, like they'll fund them, you know, I'll get a little cut, like they're happy, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So this is like my first business idea that I really tried, and I tried this for about 6 months in between, you know, like SAP and Microsoft. And I mean, so I had like one huge marketing campaign, and like I had like, I don't know, like 40 plus ideas, but none of them actually came to fruition. And, you know, I didn't really make any money, and like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So like at that time I felt that, you know, like going back to that quote, you know, like I had that fear, like went past that fear, and then had that fear again. Cause
And you didn't get the fruit.
Exactly. I didn't get the fruit.
Yeah.
I didn't get the fruit.
Yeah.
So I figured
Yeah.
I got to go back to the corporate grind, and you know, went back to Microsoft and did that. So actually after Microsoft, I had a job at Accenture doing consulting for about 6 months, and that actually got terminated because of a budget cut.
Okay.
Right? And that was around the time, like, man, like what the fuck? Like, you know, I started this job, like I thought this was going to be like my secure path for at least a little bit, where after, you know, where I get to, you know, figure myself out and at least save a little bit of money and do these things. And they just cut me like this, like, you know what I mean? I mean, they didn't really cut me, like, but they just, like, the project just got cut. So I'm like on the bench, and I have to, you know, now like find another, like, you know, position through Accenture and all these things. And it was messy.
It changed. I'm sure it changed kind of like your mentality towards being loyal to these companies.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like I had this loyalty. I'm working so hard on, you know, delivering their product, and then they have a budget cut, and they're like, boom, you're gone.
Yeah, expendable.
So like right around that time period, like right before that cut happened, actually, one of my mentors in the corporate world told me, Ariv, you can have 2 of 3 things in the corporate world, but not all 3, right? And he said, like, there's 99.9% of people in the corporate world can only get 2 things. You know, there's that 0.1% that hits all 3. But these 3 things are, you can climb up the corporate ladder. That's one thing. You can have, you know, great, you know, health. You can have great family/social life. Pick 2. And that hit me real hard. I thought about every single person I knew that was working in the corporate world, and if they wanted that, you know, corporate success where they're just going from developer to senior developer to director to executive, they were sacrificing either their health or they're sacrificing their time with their family. You feel me? And if you wanted that health and you wanted that, you know, family life, like, you had to sacrifice to climb in the corporate world. And I really thought about that, and, you know, like, that combined with the fact that, you know, like, this company that I showed loyalty to in delivering their product just kind of cut me like this. It just hit me hard. Like, man, like, I need to start a business. Like, I need to, like, figure out, like, what it is that, you know, I can provide for this world, and, you know, how I can kind of get there. And those are kind of like the marriage of those thoughts really kind of pushed me to, like, see past that fear and feel like, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to try to figure this out. But
you know what? You touched on something that was kind of dope too, because, like, I feel like at the end of the day, what I'm getting from this so far is that you took some L's, right? You've taken some L's,
exactly.
But those L's were more lessons than they were losses, right? You kind of picked yourself back up.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir, man. So I'm noticing that it's like a lot of people aren't willing to try shit, especially in our generation, if you want to say that, right? They're not willing to try shit. Therefore, you won't really know what you're capable of. You won't really know what you don't want. I always say this. I'm like, you need to know what you don't want before you try to go after what you do want. I think that's the biggest thing. I think you were able to find out what you didn't want.
Yeah, and I think the dope part though is, like, he did it once. You know, a lot of people will be like, "Damn, I failed the first time. I ain't going back to that shit." Fuck it, you know, but that's like the dope part is you just went again. You're like, man, whatever.
I gotta figure this out.
I'll bet on myself again.
No, definitely. And it was kind of interesting too, because I'm like, during the time I'm like trying to start a business, I didn't really understand what business to start. It wasn't like I just woke up one morning like, all right, real estate, that's it. I'm like, you know.
Yeah.
It was like trial and error. You know, I tried to start like a shirt company. I tried to start like a, you know, like I was like a huge J. Cole fan. I tried to do this like whole like J. Cole like blog posting and try to sell like Dreamville merchant. Like, it was just I tried everything.
I might have went to one of your websites. I was trying to get one of them hoodies. I was like, wait, hold up. Was it legit?
Man.
Is it legit?
It wasn't legit.
I didn't buy that shit. So
yeah. I'm glad you didn't. I probably would have ripped you off.
Yeah.
No, but for real though, it's like I definitely, you know, took a lot of L's, and you know, in the beginning they're private L's. You know what I mean? Like
That's
you don't want to share these L's with folks. Like, you know, like like especially when you kind of have a track record. You know, especially within kind of the immigrant, like people of color community. When you're working at Microsoft and you're doing all these things, like when you want to quit and like just leave that. Especially when that's like other people's dreams to get to, you know what I mean? It makes you feel a certain type of way. Like, man, like am I really
ungrateful?
Yeah, am I ungrateful?
Yeah.
Am I really making the right move? Am I
Yeah.
entitled? Like,
Man, I feel you,
all
bro.
these questions
Yeah.
kind of run through my head at this time, right? And around that time, it's like, okay, well, you know, like just fuck all that. I gotta start a business. So a business is selling a product or service. All right, what product or service am I gonna sell? And that was like the primary question in my head for the longest time. And you know, eventually, like during this time, I was reading a lot of books. You know, like just, you know, like Napoleon Hill, like, you know, like How to Win Friends, Influence People, yada yada yada. I was reading all kinds of business books as well, and I stumbled across a book called Flip by Nick Ruiz, FLIP by like Nick RUIZ, and that book, you know, taught me about the concept of, you know, wholesaling in real estate, and that really just kind of blew my mind about how real estate works. And he kind of made a lot of sense to me. It's like, well, you know, I'm trying to start a product or service, you know, launch a product or service. Whereas real estate is literally the biggest product that exists. You know, we're sitting in it right now.
That's real.
Right?
That's real.
And I figured, you know, I don't really have to invent anything new. I just have to figure out the logistics behind how people buy and sell real estate.
Yeah.
And to me, like, that seemed intuitive enough. It's like, okay, cool. That makes sense to me. You know, if I can figure this out, then you know, we're gonna, you know, like I feel like something could come out of this.
Was there someone who may have led you down that path? Like, was there something a defining moment, if you want to call it that, to where you were like, you seen an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many routes you can go at this point when you're
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm ready to just do me and
Yeah.
bank on me.
Yeah.
Like, what was it about real estate, aside from the fact that, you know, like you said, it's just about figuring out the logistics, but
Yeah.
I feel like everybody has a defining moment, something that they can
Yeah.
reference and say, oh, it was this time when this happened that made me want to go into real estate. What was that for you, or if you had that at all?
You know, it's funny because like now that real estate is such a big part of my life, like I feel like it's and it wasn't really a defining moment per se. It was a culmination of moments, right? Like I feel like, so my parents were always trying to, you know, like they were trying to buy a house for about like 5 years before they actually bought one.
Okay.
Right? And you know, kind of being like the firstborn immigrant son, you're kind of guiding them along the
Exactly,
process,
yeah,
trying to
helping
figure out how it works. And you know, during like that, I think 5-year time period when I was younger, I always had like, you know, I would like watch how the agents kind of conducted themselves, and, you know, watch how the lender, you know, was speaking to my parents, and like, you know, like, well, see, man, this person's making 3% of like the property that, you know, my parents are buying off of them. Then, you know, like what did they actually do? Like, you know, like these types of things
Yeah.
happened for like 5 years before my parents actually bought a house.
Okay.
So this was always kind of in the back of my mind, like, oh, there is something out there, but I didn't really think about it like that. You feel me?
Yeah.
But then after I read the book, you know, I like went about and did my own research, like went to a website called biggerpockets.com, like read a bunch of, you know, success stories that, you know, just regular everyday people are making within real estate. And like, so, and like the guy that, you know, the book I told you about, like, you know, like I would follow his like Instagram, Snapchat, everything. And like he'd be posting success stories about his, you know, like students who, you know, read the book and how, like, you know, they're taking pictures of their checks and everything. And I'm like, man, like, just clicking on their Instagram profiles, they're just like just doing some like hood rat shit, making, you know, 10 grand. And I'm like, man, I can do this too. You feel me? Like if they're, you know what I mean? Like, like, and that was so like around that time period, I'm just like, you know what? Like I felt a little bit more confident that, you know, like, look, I'm a smart guy. I launched, you know, a product on like a global scale through companies like Microsoft, you know, Accenture.
Exactly.
So why can't I figure this out?
Yeah.
Like why not me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it was definitely like a culmination that led to that level of confidence.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, like, even after I started the business, like, you know, like, so to give you perspective, right? So Kasim, Siddiqui, my business partner, and we actually started the business together. And definitely if it's not for him, like none of this would be possible. Like none of it. Absolutely. Like definitely, like, you know, I had, you know, like the idea for a little bit, and coincidentally around that time, like he bought a house.
Okay.
Right? And him buying a house, he was kind of like already kind of intrigued by the real estate process. And he's been my best friend since forever. We met in calculus class, freshman year at UW. And right from the get go, like we would cheat on each other's tests and shit, and we know we're smart guys.
Statute limitations.
Exactly.
Bro. You got the degree. It's cool, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I'm done. I'm done with it. Anyway, but and we finesse the system. You know what I mean? Like
finesse the system.
Yeah,
of course.
You have to finesse the system a little bit.
Of course.
But yeah, no, like around that time, it was just like I really just I already quit my job. At this point, I'm jobless, trying to figure out what business to launch really. And he had a job, and I'm trying to tell him about this real estate shit, and he's like, yeah, man, that actually sounds dope, like yada yada yada. And we kind of just spoke about it for 2 months, and I was just kind of trying to figure it out, just going to random meetings, trying to talk to people, reading online, really just just this culminating, just cultivating information.
Yeah.
And he saw me kind of put that work in towards that time period, and he's like, man, if Ariv's doing that too, it kind of makes sense for. I was kind of just subtly kind of pushing him to come join me, quit his job, everything. Yeah. Over a course of 2 months, he decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna quit too.
Wow.
And I'm
real friends.
Yeah, real friends, straight up,
that's real.
He I bet on myself, and then he decided to bet on me, and then we bet on each other. So when now you got my best friend, who I also consider a very intelligent guy, is now with me in this. And he feels that this is something we can actually do, and he believes in me, I believe in him, and I feel like that just kind of gave us confidence to just keep going.
Well, you know what, and then we're gonna get to the wholesale talk, because I know this guy this guy was on my head about that.
But okay, we'll talk about it.
You said something that was kind of dope when you said I've been doing all these big global projects for these big companies like Microsoft and Accenture, right? And I feel like a lot of people can be in that place, right? For those who are listening and viewing right now, it's sometimes you're working for a company or entity that is established and is, so to speak, validating you.
Absolutely.
And when you leave that company, I feel like some of that value or that confidence, like you said, just goes away when it shouldn't, right? You should hold on and harness that shit.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, you may be expendable to them on their big grand scheme, but at the end of the day, you still contributed to them.
Absolutely.
They still needed you, so you can take those skills out and elsewhere, right? So, and I think that's where this generation is at, honestly. There's a lot of staff retention is the hardest for companies right now.
I feel like you said, I feel like confidence is encapsulated within whatever you do, and I feel like in this generation, especially these corporations, they don't want you to feel like you can do what you're doing with them outside of what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They make it feel like the skills you're learning over there are exclusive over there, and the type of confidence you build because of the products and things you deploy, with them is just kind of is to them, and you really have to just look at it man, if I can do this here, I can do it elsewhere.
Exactly.
You feel me? Especially something like software. It's so abstract. It's not even a physical thing you can touch. Or it's not tangible. And if you're able to kind of push that out, why not something physical? Why not a physical product? Why not a clothing line? Why not? You know what I mean?
So I guess advice for those who are watching and listening is yo, okay, don't jump off the cliff if you don't got a plan, but at the same time, try some shit.
Absolutely.
Try some shit. Keep trying some shit.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what I'm getting from this right now.
Absolutely.
Try again. Bro.
And I'm also guilty of this, right? I used to care so much about what people thought about me. You know what I mean? I still do probably. You know what I mean? Definitely not as much as before. But we're human beings. You know what I mean? As human beings, we're social creatures. We care about what other people think.
For sure.
And especially when you're younger, like I said, I'm feeling ungrateful that I'm not pursuing this corporate path where it's a dream for others, and when I'm used to doing well in school, doing well in college, getting a good job, I kind of quote unquote have this track record of success.
Exactly.
So when you have kind of this track record, it doesn't really, it's not logical. It really isn't logical for you to quit that and then try something that you're gonna potentially fail at.
Exactly.
You feel me? And for me, one of the biggest, my advice to people, and especially people that people that are trying, more so than the people that are trying, the people that are watching the people try, is support your friends. You feel me? I feel like that's something that this generation is severely lacking in, just because we feel oh man, if that person's doing it, that person's doing something that that's a huge risk. I can't see him doing it. So they end up putting you in this box, in someone you're living in a box in someone else's head of what they define you as. You feel me? And it's up to us as entrepreneurs and creatives to really just expand that, define the box for ourselves, and then let other people just continually expand that box of who they define you as.
That's actually a good point. That's a good point.
No, definitely. I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because coming from an immigrant family.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, all of us
Yeah.
in here, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, how hard was it to like tell your parents? Like,
Oh man, it was difficult.
You know,
It was
yeah,
so
like,
difficult.
I'm about to
Yeah.
quit and I'm about to do this. You
Oh
know?
man, it was so difficult. Like I mean, my parents have always, like, the thing is, like, I guess I'm blessed in the sense that, you know, being the firstborn immigrant child, and like they didn't really like tell me how to do what I did ever. They just knew that, you know, like, for the most part, if Ariv's making a decision, you know, like, it's probably a good one.
Yeah.
But when I told them I'm gonna quit my job, or I mean, at this point, you know, the job quit me.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, when the job quit me, I'm not looking for another. Like, my dad's like, at this point, like, I'm like 2 months unemployed. My dad's like, all right, son, what are you doing? Like, you know,
Yeah.
what's the
No, I
next
feel
move?
you.
What's the next move? You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, yeah.
And I'm like, well, the next move is to not find a job and actually start a business. And he's like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, but like the dope thing about my parents is that, like, they were like, they didn't understand, but they were like, okay, well, just try it. Just try it. You know, you're young. Like, if you don't, like, they understood, like, even though they didn't really understand how, they understood that, and they understood why I would want to
Yeah.
do it.
So
Yeah.
they understood the importance of letting you actually try.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I'm
Yeah.
extremely grateful for that. And I
Yeah.
know that, you know, a lot of immigrant parents don't, you know, have, you know, like, that level. You know, like, a lot of immigrants don't have that level of support from their parents.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm very, very, very grateful
Yeah.
that my parents were, like, you know, but it was still hard. Like, to answer
Yeah.
your question, it was like,
Yeah.
because it was still something that they didn't get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still had to, like, you know, have, like, multiple conversations over a course of, like, a few months while I'm not making any money.
Yeah.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
And it's like you said, we don't care. Like, you obviously didn't care what other people think, but I don't care
Yeah.
who you are. You're gonna care what your parents think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
You know, and so at the back of your head, even if they say they support you, in the back of your head, the clock starts ticking right then and there. When they're like, go, when your parents say go,
Yeah.
the clock starts ticking. You're like,
Yeah,
I got to make it
Nah,
happen.
Absolutely.
I feel you because, I mean, I went through something similar like
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, damn, you kind of get a little anxious to just show them. Like,
Absolutely.
it's going to
Yeah.
hit. Like, you know, it's going to be
Absolutely.
good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is crazy, bro.
No,
Like-
man, like 100%. And it's like, and to just continue painting the picture of, like, you know, what happened between then and now. Like, we really actually did not make any money for 6 months, like 7 months, 7 months, something like that. Yeah. And it was hard, man. Like, and at this point, like, we're not really telling our friends what we're doing, even though, like, because like, again, like, we're afraid of, like, oh, how people are gonna perceive us,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
like if we fail,
It's
like,
not ready yet.
it's not ready yet. Yeah, exactly. You know, but then over a course of time, it just, like, you know, people just started finding out, and, like, you know, things just started happening, and, you know, we were less secretive about it. And, you know, like 7 months later, you know, we got our first check, and that was, like, the craziest feeling.
How much?
ever.
How much
I
was check
bet,
for?
bro.
How much?
It was $13,400.
Bam.
Yeah,
Damn.
Racks.
$13,400.
Racks.
And I mean, it's not like, you know, crazy amount after, like, you know, 6 months.
Yeah.
But just knowing that it's like, damn, like we thought this into existence.
Yeah, it's just to put it in perspective.
Exactly.
Though, right? Just to
Yeah,
put it in
yeah.
perspective. It's
Absolutely.
real.
Like,
yeah, the money's a symbol of kind
Absolutely.
of what was possible.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And, like, just to know that it's like, man, like, after like 7 months of just grinding, like, we eventually get to a point where it's like, man, like, now the universe decides to give us this money. It felt like it wasn't even about how much
The
money
amount,
it was.
yeah.
It was just
Just the
about the
fact.
fact that there was
Yeah.
money. Like, it
Yeah.
could have been like $100.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like,
You're
maybe
like,
not-
I did
But you
that.
look like it's working. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Profit.
Yeah,
We made
yeah.
profit. Yeah.
You know?
No, but straight up, like, but for the first, like, 7 months before that, you know, we didn't make any money. We only spent money on, like, you know, like, just courses, like, random marketing, like, just, you know, like entry fees into events, like, things like that. But when we got that first check, that, like, level of euphoria you felt, like, knowing that, man, we made this, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's unparalleled to any feeling.
It's like
Man,
something.
I feel you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's something
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you think about. We always talk about this. It's like a
Yeah.
consistent thing on this show. Is like
Yeah.
take your ideas, take your thoughts, and just make it real.
Yeah.
Make it physically real. Put it on a piece of paper. Put it on a
Absolutely.
whiteboard. Whatever you have to do.
Absolutely.
Because then the clock starts ticking once you put it out
Yeah.
there, right?
Absolutely.
And when you see it come to fruition, it's a feeling like you can't explain.
Yeah, like, it's,
You know what I mean?
No, definitely.
I always say that about, like, the studio that we were able to build, and it's
Absolutely.
like it's like sometimes you just catch yourself in that moment where you're like,
damn, I really made it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're showing me your pictures of, like, you know, what the studio used to look
Yeah,
like
yeah.
before, and, like, just to see this in, you know, like, in actual fruition,
Yeah.
where, you know, this is a legitimate studio. We
Yeah.
got, like, legitimate equipment out
Yeah,
here, like,
yeah.
you know, I'm sure this was before it became like real, you know, it was an idea in your head.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Anything physical in this world, you know, starts off in the head. Like this bottle, like existed in someone's head before it became a physical product. And a business is like no different.
It's no different.
No different.
We overly complicate things.
Absolutely.
A lot of times.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of business, let's get to this bag talk. I want to talk about the wholesale real estate market. And, there's a lot of people I'm sure that want to learn about this shit.
Sure,
Me included. This man included. This is all he was talking about before you got here. So.
Okay.
So I guess. So you start making money, right? So how do you start scaling up? What was the plan after that? Where you're like, okay, let's really try to build to where we can get notoriety from 425 magazine or Puget Sound Journal.
So how did it continue after that?
Yeah, how did it grow?
So I mean, to keep it real with you, so like the next deal we had came 2 months after that one, and it was a very similar situation. And then we pretty much just at this point it was kind of like hyping ourselves up. You know, we go to these like events and we'd like literally we just be like we're doing all this, like, you know, we kind of hype ourselves up more than we are. And then be like if you want proof, go check out this deal we did. You know what I mean? And like these people are just like looking at you, and then now like, you know, more people are kind of interested in you within the real estate sector, and they start coming to you with a potential deal, and like it's like, you know, like we started acting with a little bit more confidence, even though it wasn't anything crazy. You know what I mean? It was just knowing that we spoke this into existence. This gave us like more confidence.
You got the juice. You
Absolutely.
got the juice now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So and then that just kind of continued. So to put it in perspective, I'm not sure if a lot of listeners know what wholesaling is. So like let me explain it.
School them.
Yeah. So basically, you know, if you have a, you know, seller who's like kind of in a situation where they need, you know, like say like $300,000 to sell their house, right? And they're like, you know, and this is like, you know, like preferably a house that can be, you know, like fixed up and like, you know, resold for a better price. So they're happy with, you know, I need $300,000. I'm like moving out of the country, like, you know, I'm getting a divorce, like whatever it is, whatever their situation may be, they need $300,000 and they need to close by a certain amount. So you identify this person and you say, okay, well, you know, Ariv will buy your property for $300,000, right? And you put that on a piece of paper, and it's called a purchase and sale agreement. When the seller signs this, now you have exclusive buying rights to this property until it closes. Like you have like, say you got like 30 days to close on this property. You have exclusive buying rights. And what you can do with this purchase and sale is that this exclusive buying rights, not only is the house for sale, the exclusive buying rights can be for sale, right? So say you find, you know, another buyer, like who's an actual like established flipper investor, whoever he is, and he sees the value in the property. He sees that if he puts in, you know, like 40,000 into it, he can sell it for 500. To him, it's like, oh, buying this property for 320. It's nothing. I'm still gonna make profit. I'm gonna buy it for 320, put in 40 into it, and, you know, like still like, you know, and then sell it for 500 and make the difference.
Exactly.
So to them, it's like that would make a thing. So the purchase and sale that you originally signed with the seller, you assign it to the other, into the incoming buyer, and you pretty much have another document that says, okay, I, Ariv, assigned this property to this buyer for $20,000.
Okay.
And then so you got now two separate documents: the one you signed with the seller, the one you signed with the buyer, and you take both of these documents to escrow, and they handle the paperwork. And now the seller receives the $300,000. You know, like I'll receive as the wholesaler the $20,000, and the buyer now receives the property.
Gets the house.
And then boom, and then you know, like, and then he does whatever with it.
So that's actually keep on rolling. That's that. So all right. So now do you have to, I guess, prep the homeowner, the original homeowner, and kind of guarantee that they can get their return back before they sign the deal? Or is it like, do you have to line it up with the person who wants to buy the house?
Like, I mean,
how does that work? Because
it really depends. Like a lot, like, you know, like now I feel like when you're a little bit more established, the way you'll do it is that you have a list of buyers already, and you know exactly what this buyer's criteria is. And when you have that level of familiarity with the buyers, you find a property in like West Seattle, you'd be like, oh, who do I know that's got a West Seattle property? Boom.
You start connecting dots.
But like the way we did in the beginning was way more stressful because we found the property, and then we got like a limited number of days to close, and then we got to find the buyer. You know what I mean? It's like
it's like kind of backwards.
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, it was stressful. I mean, it still happens time to time where we just kind of end up finding a property, and like it's like kind of like in the middle of nowhere. You still got to, you know, figure out how to do it. But there's ways around it, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so to give you perspective, right? Like one thing you can do now that over a course of time, in the beginning we were just wholesalers. Like we didn't actually have our, you know, real estate license.
Okay.
At this time period.
So you can do that without a license.
Oh yeah, you can
So
definitely
you
do
can
that
do it
license.
in Washington without a license? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I was told otherwise.
Man, fuck that. Like,
Yeah. All right, cool.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know who your source is,
Thank
but
you.
my guy right here knows.
Yeah. All right, that's what I'm
definitely.
saying. That's what I wanted to know too.
Yeah,
Boom.
no, definitely. You can do that. I mean, whoever's telling you that is probably trying to keep the competition
Exactly.
away.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain like logistics that you got to follow. Like for instance, when you're like marketing that, the example I told you, that property for $300,000, you as a wholesaler, you're not marketing the property, you're marketing the contract.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's certain things you say that like have legal implications, and certain ways you market it have legal implications.
Yeah.
You can't just like, for instance, you can't just market on like a public platform like Facebook or Instagram. Yo, I got this contract for sale.
Yeah.
But you can do it through if you have a particular partner or like a buyer's list or whatever.
clientele.
It has to stay within the circuit of
Exactly.
real estate. I got you.
Exactly.
I got
That
you.
makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
And so to pretty much add to this, like kind of business strategy, we realized later on that it's like, well, like once the buyer buys the property and now they're now they're trying to sell it for $500,000, they need to list it on the open market. They need to have they need to use a real estate agent to list that. So there's a real estate agent getting 3% of that $500,000 to $15,000 on the back end.
Okay.
So we're like, well, shit, why can't that be us?
Exactly.
So we decided we'll just get our license, and boom, like now we're gonna do the wholesale deals where we're gonna get the wholesales on the front end, and then the property is gonna get fixed up, and then on the back end we're gonna get that
percentage.
commission.
Yeah.
Right. And this was just like, it's like a foolproof model. It's like like really no risk.
Because it's like, why let it go after that point?
Absolutely,
Just,
because
you've
it's
already
there.
done all that work.
Yeah.
You've built that rapport. Who knows the house better than you? You were there from the jump.
Absolutely.
So why not sell that
Absolutely.
shit?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Damn, that's
And
what's up, bro.
and pretty much like, so actually Kasim got his license last February 2017. And then so basically like we just kind of kept it going where like we get the list backs, and that was the case. In the beginning I was like not licensed because I thought that there's certain like fiduciary responsibility you have when you have your when you have your license. So I figured as like a regular civilian, there's things that I can do. And but then like Seattle just started becoming like a seller's market, and people just started valuing agents more and like sellers. What I mean? Like you gain a level of confidence from them when you're a real estate broker. So like earlier this year, actually, I think like February of this year, I got my license.
Okay.
And and then we just continued doing this.
So for those who may already be doing this or who are interested in doing this after hearing this, like me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these motherfuckers. But what are some things they need to look out for? Because obviously you're kind of telling us in terms of how it works, and if it works, this is what it'll look like. But what are some things people need to look out for, right? Because I feel like obviously shit's not. It's not gonna be straight like that. There's gonna be some shit you gotta go through and figure out for yourself. So what are some things people need to look out for?
I mean, like not necessarily look out for, but like kind of do your research on. Is you have to really understand kind of the market. You have to. So if you say you got a property, you have to understand like if it's completely fixed up, what's it gonna sell for, right? And that's probably the biggest question you got to answer like from the jump. You know what I mean? Like you need to understand what the after repair value is. They call it the ARV.
ARV. I was about to say that. Yeah.
And basically you do that by identifying what properties sold around the subject property and when. So and the when's really important. Like say you you got a property and then you're like, oh yeah, there's a property over there. Like it sold like last year for like $550,000. That means that this can also sell for that much.
Exactly.
That's not always the case. Like you need to look at like how the market's shifted.
Oh yeah.
Like what's been going on, like what the trends have been in that particular neighborhood.
Okay.
And like things like that. Like you need to look at like what the square footage of that other property is for you to actually compare the ARV.
Yeah.
How many bedrooms it has, how many bathrooms it has. Is it an actual like 1-to-1 type comparison? So like in the and then you need to kind of like and this comes with practice, but you need to understand how much work has to be put in dollar amount for it to make sense. Like one of the biggest mistakes that Kasim and I made toward the beginning would be like, yeah, we found this property for $300,000. You put in $20,000, and then the ARV is like $330, and it's like there's no room for profit. You know what I mean? Like we'd be getting like kind of like we just didn't understand how it worked. We were just excited about getting properties under contract
and just doing it. Right?
And just doing it and just kind of like just being involved in the process.
Gotcha.
But over a course of times, I mean, we got shat on by other investors, like being like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you know what I mean? In the beginning. And I think one of the biggest kind of hurdles that wholesalers might experience is that I mean, within the real estate investor community, right? It's like when you're wholesaling, you're not really taking any risk for the most part, right? Like from a monetary perspective, you're not taking any risk. And because you're not taking any risk, the actual, you know, the actual buyer that comes in to buy the property could sometimes look at you like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Like they might try to like, you know, like just like, you know,
like discredit you.
They look at you as an opportunist.
Exactly. But then, you know, like over a course of time, once you actually show your value, show that you can find properties, show that, you know, you're actually finding good deals, that level of, you know, respect kind of automatically, you know, comes on.
You show and prove.
Absolutely.
I need to know what you're about before I start throwing you this money.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
So y'all know about like my business model right now, where it's like, you know, you find properties on the front end, like, you know, wholesale it and get that wholesale check in the beginning. The property gets, you know, like worked on, and then boom, you get the commission on the back end. That's one way of doing it. And now another way we do it is, instead of receiving the wholesale check and the commission on the back end, we'll tell the buyer like, yo, so, you know, like this is, you know, X number of dollars in total. Why don't we just put that towards the down payment, and you now, like, so usually it's an LLC that the buyer has, like an LLC that buys the property. But like, why don't you just make us owners of the property as well and give us equity in the deal instead of just a commission or a cut. You see what I'm saying? So it's a whole different, you know, like model that, you know, depending on the deal.
And it's case by case.
Case by case, exactly.
Sure.
If the deal is just like, you know, just slapping amazing, then, you know, it's just, then we'll do that equity model.
He's dropping some gems, bro. He's dropping some gems, bro. For real, there's someone who's listening right now, bro, who just turned this shit off and went to the computer, bro. So you kept mentioning your boy Kasim, right?
Yes.
And obviously you can't do shit alone.
Absolutely.
Everybody, you know, teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely.
We got our guy in the building right now.
Yes, sir.
Let's bring him in just so we can introduce him to the people. And that's dope, though, man. I think. You can talk into the mic. What's going on, Kasim?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm good, man.
Doing good, man.
You know, just I kind of want to get your kind of perspective. Obviously, he kind of talked about the come up.
Yeah, of course.
What was a moment for you two when maybe y'all looked at each other like, I can't work with this guy right now. Like I can't.
Every day.
Like, what did it ever come to a point where it was like, yo, we might need to take a break from each other?
To be honest, the thing is, as soon as we started, we were pretty much like working together all day, every day. We were working out together. We were cooking together.
Okay.
I mean, this whole thing was a bigger journey than just real estate. I mean, it was a test of our. Everyone tells you don't do business with your friends, but I think that's the stupidest thing ever, because we know exactly how we work, and we have two different versions of like when we talk to each other. We got like, I'm talking to either business Ariv or friend Ariv, and Ariv's talking to either business Kasim or friend Kasim.
Got it.
And so we've done a really good job separating the emotional attachment between those two things. So like, you know, if Ariv's yelling at me or if I'm yelling at him, he knows that it's not his friend, or I know it's not my friend who's mad at me. It's like,
it's the business.
We just know that we're trying to tell each other what to do and how to do it. And because of that friendship, we're able to be more free with each other. So as far as it goes, I don't think there's been a time where we were like, hey, I don't want to do this business with you. It's more like, hey, should we keep doing this business? Like, are we, you know, during that first 7 months.
Only reason I asked, and obviously I could tell you guys
course.
are like this, but only reason I asked that is because I'm sure there's someone out there right now who's probably doing business with friends, and maybe it didn't work, or maybe they've done business with friends in the past and it didn't work. So it's kind of showing them an example like, yes, this shit does work. You just got to be fucking focused, and you got to be on the same page.
You got to separate.
You got to understand when it's time to be friends and when it's time to actually be business partners, right?
And like another thing is that, like, you know, with Kasim and I, like, we had, like, there was never a level of like greed associated to our friendship. You know what I mean? Like, we always, like, we've never ripped each other off. You know what I mean? We've always been loyal to each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whether it's like, you know, like in college, like, you know, like he bought me lunch or whatever, like I'd hit him right back. Like, and there was always that mutual respect we had for each other. And I think that's probably the biggest key. And like Kasim said, right, like, you know, he could be yelling at me, I could be yelling at him, but we know that it's not personal.
Never.
It's just the most objective, practical thing to do, to say, to get the business to the next level. And we might agree, we might disagree on what that, you know, the most practical move to make is. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It's like he, like, you know what I mean? Like, we can go from yelling at each other and be like, yo, that girl's bad as hell. You know what I mean? Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, we.
Let's go get looked.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, but you know what's crazy? You also said something that, like, I feel like it's dope to see passion, right? That's what you want to see, right?
Exactly.
If he's screaming at you, you like, man, I don't want to hear this shit right now.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that he's fired up at the same time, right? So I think I think it's just, everybody wants someone who cares, right?
Exactly.
If you go into business with someone, you want to know they care.
Exactly.
Right? You want them to challenge you. You want them to go back on you. Like, me and this guy argue all the fucking time, bro, about shit and what we should do. And the rest of the team, like,
And the thing is, if you don't argue, like, that comes off as fake. You know what I mean? Because
that's
really,
real.
like, you're a human being. He's a human being. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to have, moments where you get emotional.
That's real.
But you have to learn to just separate, like, what that means.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there has to be a greater good. If there's
Absolutely.
a greater good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think
talked
one
about
thing
that.
that's really important is we both have a very strong why. I mean, we
Talk
got
about
into
it.
this for the same reason. We care about the same issues, and we're trying to empower ourselves along with our people, And then because of that, like, that was really defining for us. Like, one of the moments that I think was one of the most defining was this happened last year. Our mentor was telling us, hey, there's this funeral happening for this kid who got shot by the police. His name was Giovanni, and he was, unrightfully shot by the police. And we went to that funeral. Well, it wasn't the funeral. It was like the
was like a
protest.
memorial. Yeah,
It was a protest memorial, and it was just such just a crazy moment, just seeing that mother and like everyone so passionate about what's going on, and like just we were like, man, this is why we're here. We're here on this planet to try to stop these injustices, and even if it's just real estate, like, we're still gonna figure it out. Like, we're on a path, and nothing is gonna get in our way.
So you're kind of using the real estate as a tool to kind of fuel
exactly.
a greater,
Ariv can tell you more about like
purpose.
how that's like something we've been doing.
Yeah, so
That's what's up, though.
that
man.
segues
Yeah.
perfectly, I think, into kind of what's on the horizon.
Yeah.
And things you got down the pipeline.
Absolutely.
You want to talk about it?
So, one of the like in addition to real estate, one of the main things that like as Kasim mentioned, we focus on is helping the community and empowering others, and like just being a dark skinned person of color in this country. I feel and being an immigrant, I feel that we kind of share this narrative. Like, we share this narrative with, so many different others.
Yeah.
And we feel that, if we can do it, we want others to feel like, oh yeah, I can do it too. You know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest, like that's the biggest why for how we started our
Representation.
business. And we figured, like the how we're going to get there is going to come if we knew our why.
Yeah.
There's a great book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And that book,
Yeah, I seen that.
That's my guy.
That's my
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Simon.
He's dope.
There you go. Shout out
He's dope.
Simon.
He's dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's like, so one of the things we've been doing recently is that we've partnered up with this organization called TAF. It's a Technology Access Foundation. You can follow them on Instagram at, I think it's STEM by TAF.
Okay.
And it's founded by this, like black woman named like Trish. I'm forgetting her last name, and Trish is just super cool. She was like one of the first, female representatives in Microsoft. And like she's one of like the OG like people that worked at Microsoft
From the jump,
For the
yeah.
jump, for her to
Okay.
be a woman and a black woman at that in the technology industry back in like the 80s, man, that's like that's
an
unheard of.
anomaly, bro. Like,
She's an anomaly
You
for
never
sure.
seen- you never
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
it
yeah.
like that.
And yeah, man. So it's like, and she started this kind of academy called Technology Access Foundation, based in Federal Way. I think at some point in the 90s. And their whole purpose is to empower students of color that come from that Federal Way region. And if you know anything about Federal Way, it's like it's not as like wealthy as Seattle or Bellevue or
Yeah.
like this area.
Yeah.
And so I mean, and these kids come from either like broken families or like just not the most ideal situations. Even if they're not coming from broken families, like their parents are blue collar workers or just hard workers that that are doing what they can to provide for their kids, but they don't really understand how the next like they're not going to be able to provide their kids with the knowledge to go the next level.
Yeah. And trying to build that
build
career
that thing.
path.
Yeah. So what Trish does is they got this entire foundation, with like the Technology Access Foundation, and their entire, so it's a school for like 6th through 12th grade, and their entire curriculum is based off STEM education, science, technology, engineering, math, and it's just super dope. Like they have their kids like working on like really cool projects, and like like they focus on art, they focus on social issues and things. Like these kids are just like just walking into the school, you realize like, man, these kids are just like next level.
Yeah, they're
like
the future.
They're the future
They're
for
definitely-
sure.
yeah, for sure.
And it was very like serendipitous how we got involved with them. I was just at this random networking event, and this lady told me like, oh, there's this like some like there's some event that we need an MC for, and it's about empowering students of color. And for me, I'm like, oh, I'm down. I'm ready to go. Yeah. She asked me to MC, and I didn't really like even prepare. And when I got to the event, that's when I realized what it was, and I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. This is about like empowering these kids. Yeah. And at that moment, like on stage, I'm just like feeling like, man, like I'm supposed to be here right now. I'm supposed to be here right now, and I'm supposed to use this real estate journey as a platform to help these kids. And immediately after that event, I coordinated with Trish and some of the other like members on the committee of TAF, and just told them how can we help, and how can we make this, like how can we provide value. And one of the things we do is we go talk to these kids about real estate and like entrepreneurship and
dope.
and how they can move to the next level.
That's dope.
That's one thing we're doing. And then we've partnered up with one of our buddies. His name is Rich, and he's just as passionate about TAF as we are. And one of the things we're doing right now is towards the beginning of 2019, we're gonna have this hackathon type event where we're bringing 60 kids from TAF that are 10th to 12th grade. They'll form 10 groups of 6 or 6 groups of 10, whatever, and they're gonna come up with this really cool just business idea, plan, or even just a problem that they see within their spheres that they can solve, and they're gonna create a solution for that over a course of an 8-hour day. And we've already coordinated with a bunch of Seattle entrepreneurs from Amazon, Microsoft, Expedia,
to volunteer,
Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to volunteer and kind of just tutor these kids at this event. And one of the biggest hopes out of this is that these kids that don't have the opportunity otherwise will get to this event, create a solution, present this idea to these established entrepreneurs, and they're gonna feel like by the end of it, they're gonna feel more confident to take it to the next level and feel like, man, I can do this.
Hell yeah!
This isn't that bad.
I've been to a hackathon, bro. That shit is powerful. Whether you're an adult or whether you're a kid, it doesn't matter what your age is. You're gonna leave that shit feeling like I can do something.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't know what it is, you feel like you can do something after leaving one of those. So that's dope, bro.
Yeah, man.
That's amazing. When can we look forward to that?
So that's happening toward the beginning of 2019. I'll keep y'all definitely updated, and we're still working with TAF on coordinating the details. It was supposed to happen the beginning of this academic year, but you know how the beginning of the school year is the most stressful time, coordinating everything for them.
Okay.
So this is coming up on the horizon.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember seeing TAF from back in the day, bro. I think they had some kind of office or something in Columbia City.
Yeah. It's called the Bethany Foundation.
I was a little kid, bro, and I just remember seeing TAF stuff.
Oh, okay.
Or I think it was it might have been in the Central District too.
Okay,
I think so. But I remember that.
Yeah,
from back
they're
in the day.
super cool, and the fact that they exist in Seattle, you mentioned Nipsey Hussle before we started this part of the podcast, and one of the things he does is he's got this entire platform called Vector 90.
Vector 90 project.
Vector 90. You guys know about that?
Definitely tapped in.
And bro, that's it's funny because even before I found out what TAF was, when I saw that he was doing something like this, I'm like, man, this is so cool.
Yeah.
This is what
necessary,
we need.
Man.
This is what's
so necessary.
Absolutely.
I remember we did this. I know he did it in Brooklyn. I did it in Oakland. It's called Seek. It's a summer engineering experience for kids.
Okay.
It's only for the summer though.
Yeah, student Nesby.
It's a STEM camp, if you want to call it that, student Nesby. But I remember doing that for a month, and I'm not an engineering student at all. Yeah. I don't know anything, but I went there because I knew it was important, right? And when you see these kids, man, in these super, super adverse circumstances that they're growing up in, but you lock them in that room, a safe space, and you start opening their minds, it's crazy, man. It's so crazy to see how smart they are and how curious they are too.
Absolutely.
Man, I love that shit. That's
absolutely
dope.
And it's and when you cultivate that level of when you empower that curiosity from the get-go. I mean these kids, they're turning on the TV, all they see is they see different narratives painted of them by the media. And it's especially when you're a kid, you're so influenced, right? So when you provide them with this type of platform, success is kind of inevitable.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
No, I can't wait for that shit.
We
definitely support that.
Okay, cool, man. I want y'all there then.
Oh, I'm going to be there.
All right,
I'm
sounds
definitely
good.
going to be there, bro.
Sounds good.
I'm sold.
All
You gotta
right.
sell me on it. I'm sold, bro. I'm there.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we can touch on that. Another thing I noticed, and I don't know if you noticed, but I follow you on Instagram, and I know you're a man of many talents, right? Would you say so?
You know.
Yeah, you just I can't say that shit. You gotta say it.
You gotta say it for me. You feel me?
Nah, man. But I know something that you probably use for me time and to kind of balance out.
Definitely.
The work is music, right? You love music, right?
Absolutely.
So what is that looking like for you right now? And is it something that you just kind of do for fun, or is it something that you actually take seriously?
It's a combination of both. like being an immigrant in this country, like, you know, not really having like a voice for myself, I used hip hop as like kind of my escape, and hip hop was like my tool for empowerment as a kid. And, you know, like since I was like, you know, 16, 17, maybe even 15, something like that, I was always writing bars, and that was like my form of escape.
Yeah.
Right?
That's real.
I'm sure a lot of us could relate to that.
Oh, yeah, man. I
Yeah.
got bars on deck.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Right, I'll
Absolutely.
Yeah, this guy.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. No, but like
Nah.
for real, like it's one of those
Oh,
things
man.
where it's like, you know, I was always like rapping, and, you know, like and I would do to my, like I would just do it like for myself, you know, by myself. And
It's like therapeutic.
it was very therapeutic for me, and especially like, you know, but the crazy part is I didn't really like tell anyone, kind of like this whole, you know, like this whole entrepreneurship journey towards the beginning. It's like, no, I'm a secret rapper.
Yeah, because they're going to
like,
look at you like, where's the album coming, bro?
Exactly,
Yeah, when's
exactly.
your deal at?
Exactly.
Signed it? Like, nah, man, chill.
Exactly. I'm doing it for me. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
And like it's funny because like as this whole entrepreneurship journey started, I think I've written more bars within like this past 2 years than I have, you know, like at any time before that, because it was always my form of escape.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like if I'm feeling good, I'm gonna write something. If I'm feeling bad, I'm gonna write something. Like
That's dope.
And it was always just, you know, something I just kept doing for a long time. And actually, shout out to this guy, because he was like, I'd be like just rapping, you know, to myself or whatever,
Yeah.
and he'd be listening and be like, bro, you're actually good. You should just start putting this shit out, see what happens. And that's kind of where we're at.
Kasim, you rap too?
No.
He bobs his head. Real
All
good.
right,
Yeah.
all right, bet. Well, shit, man. Can we hear some bars or something? Like, I mean,
Shit.
you can't just say I wrote
All right.
this many bars from this many years. Let us get a little
All right,
something.
check it.
Let us
All
get a
right.
little something.
All right. My life's a movie. I'm the writer, producer, director, and the main actor, and that's plain facts, bruh. A corporate job for Vozhi's not natural. It felt claustrophobic. I need expansion. I'm full of passion. I'm blasting off. I've been advancing. Never thought I'd be giving thanks to inner clashes. Pushing past the doubt, keeping the winning lasting. Reverse engineered the cloud. We did it backwards. Did my taxes. I'm plotting now March. So many blessings, like everything's ours. Demeanors, everything is evident, y'all. People of color, you know that I'll represent y'all forever. Still, I'll be whipping Raris, etc. Set a goal to always get out of parameters. Handle all ramifications, no one can damage us. No offense, we playing offense. The stamina is so profound, I know no bound exists loud. You can't tell me to tone it down. I'm in real estate, I know how to zone the town. Not a single fucking doubt, man, I'm focused now.
People of color, he's representing y'all. Y'all
He
heard
did
that
that
shit.
shit. No hesitation. He said,
You knew it was coming, bro.
Check it.
You knew it was coming, bro. Hey, that's a message for any other rappers that come up here now. You got to rap, right? You got to rap, right? You got to rap. Thank you, though. That was
Yeah,
dope.
no, definitely.
That was dope.
Yeah.
That was
Definitely.
dope.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
And-
if you ever need a feature on the mixtape, let me know. I'm here, man.
Okay, I
I'm here.
appreciate it.
You know what I'm
Respect.
saying?
And actually, so like to answer your question, you know, like regarding music, it's kind of like I'm taking it the same way I took this whole entrepreneurship thing, right? Like it's kind of like within the real estate community, there isn't anyone that raps, and I feel like, you know what, I'm gonna use that to my advantage. Like, you know, now that I'm like posting on like Instagram or whatever, right? The people within the real estate community in Seattle will be like, oh yeah, he's that guy that raps. And like just that in itself
It's
is like
marketing. It's
it is
marketing.
marketing.
Yeah,
It's a way for you to identify yourself.
Yeah.
So
but you're being yourself at the same time. You're not
Exactly.
trying to be a rapper. You've
Exactly.
always been a rapper. It's just like,
Exactly.
it's just something I do. You know?
Exactly.
That's dope. I like that.
Yeah, so I'm actually like, you know, soon, like I'm like within the next like, you know, 4 weeks, I'll be like, I'm dropping like my first single.
Okay.
And it's just for me, you know what I
No,
mean? Like
for sure,
whatever
man.
happens out of that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I
And
feel
I'm
you.
just gonna keep that, you know, keep
Hey,
following
man,
my journey.
Real estate rapper.
This is the SoundCloud era, bro. So I mean, you never know.
Spotify.
Look at
era.
Lil Duval.
Yeah.
Look at Lil Duval, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Straight
Straight
got
up.
man.
top Billboard charts. You know what I'm saying?
Straight up.
Nah, man, that's dope, and I'm glad to see that you guys can share a story of you know, persistence, man, and trials and tribulations included, but just being able to stand tall through it all.
and collaboration, bro.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
that's
another
like,
one.
Straight
that's,
up.
you know,
Straight up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
sure.
real. So I always ask this question.
Okay.
You know, if you're familiar with the show, and
Let's hear it.
it's for both of you guys, so you guys can answer it separately.
Okay.
And this is something that's going to just really help kind of sum up everything we talked about, but also kind of lay ahead what's on the horizon.
Okay.
So if you can, my brothers, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up?
You guys could explain it
And
too.
you can
Yeah.
explain.
You
Yeah.
said it one word. You know.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say like my favorite word of all time. Actually, I got two words. Can I say 2 words? It's abundance and manifestation. You know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because, you know, like this world is like extremely abundant. There are so many resources for all of us to be millionaires or whatever we want. You know what I mean? Like whether you want money, whether you want like diamonds, like jewelry, whether you want a nice car, like whatever material thing you want in this world, like it's fully abundant. And it starts from like for me, like it took a really long time to get to this place of feeling like not scarce, because being immigrants, like we're used to our parents saying things like, why are you driving, like this car doesn't run on water, like money doesn't grow on trees. But really money actually does grow on trees if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like it comes from trees. You know what I mean?
Paper.
That's
Straight up paper. Where does it come from? It does grow on trees. And like for me, it was like it really took a long time to get to that mentality. Like I read somewhere that the entire human population can fit within the state of Texas and with the population density of New York City. Now, if you really like can imagine that, just think about the rest of the world, right? Just think about all the trees, think about all the diamonds, think about all the gold, think about all the water. Like the resources are out there for all of us to have it. And I think that society just kind of paints this, picture of, oh, like, if this person has it, this person can't have it. And I think that's like the biggest, like self-limiting, like factor that we have to like just shatter. And, and for me, like it took a really long time. And, I still have days where I'm operating off that scarcity mentality. And that's something I have to get, like out of like my system. And the second word I said was manifestation. It's really like, like I said, this bottle existed in someone's head before it became a physical reality. And I think if you look at life from that perspective of like, what you like, any physical tangible thing that you end up getting starts in the mind first. And and you manifest that. So like to me, like those are my two favorite words, and I think they really helped me along this journey.
That's real.
That's
real. Abundance and manifestation.
Yes, sir.
I like that.
That's a first.
That's a first for both of us.
Both
I love hearing the new.
Okay, good. You got something?
Yeah, let's go for it. All right, so I think I'm gonna go with God because the thing is, we know that this journey, whether it's however we're manifesting anything or however abundant it is, it all comes from one place. And we know that both of us, like we're very spiritual and we just kind of tune into what is happening. And like one thing that's been really important is to stop viewing anything as a coincidence, because none of these things are coincidences. Like, us meeting each other in calculus class, like working hard in school, even like cultivating our friendship, and even starting this entire journey, like, it was all something that we had to think about it first, and God had to make it easy for us to do. And so like we had to believe in ourselves first and believe in God just to make it all happen. And so like, our friendship is probably one of the biggest roots to this journey. And we just had to not give up and kind of just keep and part of that journey was to not give up. And so like, God was one of the ways that we got that way.
God's plan.
God's plan.
God's plan.
Yeah,
Cue God's plan right now. Nah, man, that's dope. And we love asking that question because it kind of just, it's a tough question to answer. I'm not gonna lie, but
absolutely,
it's just dope to kind of see, what really drives us, and I love to see how, two brothers like you guys are just going after it, and supporting each other, but showing what it is and what it means to support each other.
Absolutely.
And to network across, right?
Absolutely.
Go get your homies, man. Go get your homies and put them on some shit. Like, you know what I mean? You never know what your homies are capable of.
Absolutely.
Right? Just because they work at a certain job don't mean they can't do this.
Absolutely.
And that, so I think you guys are an example for that and what that means to keep your homies close, keep your friends close, put them in position, and then eventually they may put you in position. So
Absolutely. Agree.
That's dope, man. That's dope. You got anything? Any final?
Yeah, man. And before we wrap this up, though, I do want to say, I sincerely appreciate the both of y'all for having us on, and not only for having us on, for creating this platform for others to be inspired. You know what I mean? Not many people are doing this.
That's right.
And you know what I mean? When we're looking back, society's looking back, thousands of years, into the past, from now, they're going to be looking at moments like this. They're going to be looking at these types of platforms as the reason for the success of the next level, next generation. And, for all the listeners that are, out there listening, I'm sure they're extremely grateful for this, whether they, come and tell you about it, or whether they're hitting you with that follow, on Instagram or whatever it is, there are people out there. And you know what I mean? So it's I'm extremely grateful to be out here. I'm extremely grateful to share what little I know. And I know that, we're just getting started. And I feel grateful that, we got on here before y'all became millions of subscribers and whatnot. You know what I mean? So it's I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate
definitely.
that for sure.
It's because it's like you said, it's about the why, man. I mean, that's why we do it. We do it for the culture, man. We try to cultivate the culture. And if anybody can can actually understand that and grasp that vision, and we're doing our job.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Respect.
And, well, you know, on that note, I guess it's safe to say, Kasim and Ariv, you guys are officially members of the UpNUp. Can we get a round of applause? It's lit. It's lit. It's lit. It's lit.
Let's go.
My God. My God.